Issues with mask law. That's our discussion today here on the McBride Attorneys Law Show. Today I spoke in the city of DeLand here in Florida about the forced mask law that is currently on the books. And I wanted to take some time to talk to you in a more extended fashion about these forced mask laws that we're seeing pop up throughout the United States. My concern, of course, is the process that they're being adopted by, the risks imposed, and further, the constitutionality of these types of mandates. So I'm Shawn McBride. I'm a business lawyer. I am not a medical rights advocate. I am not a person. I'm a citizen. And the reason I'm in this battle is because I'm concerned about us as members of a democracy and what I watch going on. And as these laws pop up throughout our land by states, cities, counties, etc., we have more and more. Saying hi to all the live viewers there. Drop a comment with who you are and where you're viewing from, because I love to say hi to everybody as we get into this. And if you're watching a recording, do it as well. This is about our future. We are setting precedent today about what the future will look like. And the actions we take today as citizens with the passage of these mask laws, what we allow, what we don't allow, is going to determine how our government treats us in the future. If we tell our government we expect accountability and we expect things to be done through a constitutional process that protects each and every citizen, then we stand a chance of having good lawmaking in the future. But if we citizens sit idly by and allow mandates to be passed in a sloppy fashion that does not pass constitutional muster, we allow the government to take more power and to potentially rob us of our rights. So this is really about setting the stage of government accountability, and the citizens are there watching you. And we're going to watch your actions and see what you do. In these mandate laws, and we were specifically focused on the law passed here in DeLand, Florida. It's a 6-page ordinance here, and you probably can't see it very well on the screen, but you can find it on the DeLand City government site if you really dig for it, because it is hidden. But in the 6-page order, they talk a lot about the benefits of masks to other people and how wearing a mask might help slow the spread of the disease. There's a lot of mixed science on there. What I'm very disappointed about in this order is it does not talk at all about the risk to a wearer. And we need to be aware of that, right? It's only fair that if you're going to force people to do something, that you understand the risk to the people you're forcing to do it and balance that with the benefits or the potential benefits to society. In this order, there is no balancing of risk. And this is very similar to a lot of other orders I see. Now, a lot of people are going to respond, there is no risk to wearing a mask. It's just uncomfortable. Well, U.S. Surgeon General Dr. Jerome Adams came out in March and said that regular people, not healthcare medically trained, would wear masks improperly. They would touch their face and they would increase the risk of spreading the virus. The public health officials in Ontario, Canada, where they're getting much better numbers than the United States, by the way, have said that they recognize this risk. So Ontario, Canada says, we understand people are going to wear it wrong. In fact, I have here the CDC guidelines on wearing a mask. And if you read the CDC guidelines on wearing a mask, you're supposed to wash your hands before you install your mask, put it on, and then you're supposed to keep it on, never touch your face. And if you do touch your face, you're supposed to use hand sanitizer or disinfect. You're supposed to stay away from everybody. And then when you go home, you're supposed to remove your mask and put it in the washing machine, right? So one time. How many people are you watching out there that are actually following these CDC guidelines? And how do you follow them in a practical way, particularly in Florida, right? It's very hot and humid here in Florida. which means you're going to have to take your mask off and on if you go somewhere to shop, right? You're going to get in your car, you're going to go to your destination. Now you do not have the ability to wash your hands as the CDC recommends. Now you have to install your mask, enter the place of business, and now the CDC would like you to continue to wear your mask until you get home and place it in the washing machine. But in Florida, it's hot and humid, which means you're stepping out into 90 or 100-degree weather with a mask strapped to your face, and you're going to be exhaling on that. And there's a number of articles out there about the fact that fungus and other disease can grow on a mask. Give me an amen if you've been wearing a mask and you've noticed that it gets moisture building up in it, and who knows what's growing in that moisture as you continue to breathe in and out, right? So, and people say, well, doctors and nurses wear masks all the time. The risk can't be that great. Completely different environment. Filtered air, very complex air handling systems, climate controlled, ability to wash your hands before you remove your mask. We're guinea pigs, folks. We have no idea what the risks are, and there's no discussion of that risk. But Dr. Jerome Adams knows it's risky for non-medical personnel to wear masks. The Ontario Health Authority knows it's risky for people to wear masks. Yet our governments that are passing these mandates and these laws don't understand these risks, right? So I commend to you to go check out the CDC guidelines and how few people are following these guidelines, endangering themselves to wear the mask. And really, these guidelines are not practical for everyday citizens because we don't have access to wash our hands every time we get in and out of our car to go into a store. And we shouldn't be wearing our masks out in hot, humid weather, putting disease into it. So turning back to the mandates and this risk balancing, we as lawyers have been following what the U.S. Supreme Court has been doing. And of course, back in 1905, there was a case called Jacobson. I've discussed that at length in some videos here on the McBride Attorneys Law Show YouTube channel. And you can go check those out and see where we talk about Jacobson versus Massachusetts. The basic premise of Jacobson versus Massachusetts, written by a slaveholder, was that the state has the power to force you to take a vaccine against your will. And so that is kind of the baseline. And many lawyers, many legal scholars, including Alan Dershowitz, thinks that if the U.S. Supreme Court was presented with the issue again, they would probably allow forced vaccines if your state legislature said so. So starting with that backdrop, we have to at least assume it may be possible for Jacobson to be constitutional still today, 115 years later. But in that 115 years, the Supreme Court has added a lot of layers on their due process reviews, and particularly how they look at fundamental rights. And if you take somebody's fundamental right, which a healthcare decision, abortion, other things are generally considered to be fundamental rights, if the state or the government is taking somebody's fundamental right, we apply what we call strict scrutiny. And strict scrutiny requires that the government prove there's a compelling governmental interest. There's no less restrictive means to do it. And the government also has to go through a process to evaluate all of these laws and understand what they're passing. They can't just pass things arbitrarily. These laws that are coming down look very poor in the strict scrutiny analysis. Many of them, particularly on the city or the county level, do not involve health officials. They are arbitrarily passed by some person who is not in the knowledge of medicine, has not looked at these risks. They've hidden certain risks. They are so caught up on getting people to wear the mask because of the alleged benefits that they've hidden the risks, right? We don't see Dr. Jerome Adams speaking about that today. We have historical records of Dr. Jerome Adams talking about it. Public Health Ontario, in their article, got it right. They talk about the health risks, but we don't see our county commissions looking at it. And it brings us back to our Constitution and why we have the Constitution in the first place. Our founding fathers were very afraid of leadership by the majority. They were concerned that we would reach times where we would have majority of people shutting down the minority of people. And that's been a very important part of democracy. We have to allow people with minority positions, people who disagree, to have rights, or else we would end up with a situation where everybody was forced to do what the majority would do, which means no freedom. You would have to do what everybody else is doing. And if more than 50% of people thought you should do something, you would be forced to do it. We've rejected that notion as a country. Yet we get in moments like this where the majority gets riled up, or the vocal people, I'm not even sure it's a majority of people that support these mask mandates, but certainly a large vocal group is saying, wear the mask. And that's okay if you want to wear the mask. Do your part to help society. I'm not opposed to wearing a mask from time to time, but it is my choice. When is it safe? When is my mask properly sanitized? When can I wear it in a condition where it will not endanger my health? These are real questions, and the government should not be making health decisions for us. We get to make our health decisions. It is wrong and it is immoral for one group of people to force another group of people to do something for their benefit. And this is what we watch. When we watch these situations happen, we have the majority forcing what appears to be the minority to do something. We've done this before in U.S. history, right? If we scale back and look at how our U.S. Constitution was written, as imperfect as it was, it said that we could force people to do labor against their will. That was written into the U.S. Constitution by acknowledging slavery and allowing that institution to continue on. That is morally wrong. We've moved past that as a society. We understand we can't force people to do labor for us, yet somehow we as a society allow other people to make medical decisions for us. And I still struggle that how do we reconcile those two? How can you tell somebody you can't force them to work for you, but you can force somebody to take a medical risk on your behalf? And if you think there's no medical risks to a mask or a forced vaccine, take a look at the New England Journal of Medicine article this week that talks about mandatory vaccines. Right in that article, they acknowledge that they should set up a fund for people who are injured by the COVID-19 vaccine as it's administered, right? So they acknowledge that some percentage of people are going to get hurt by this vaccine that's coming out in record progress. Give me an amen if you know. Drop it in the comments. Give me an amen if you know that there is a risk to vaccines. And also tell me, do you agree that it is immoral for a group of people to force another group of people to do something against their will for their alleged benefits? Are you willing to force people to do things and die? Because that's what we're talking about, definitely with the COVID vaccine and potentially with the masks, right? We've heard of people that have wrecked their cars wearing masks. They've suffered collapsed lungs. There have been a variety of people who have actually been injured with this. And we don't know what the long-term damage is, right? Of people breathing into these masks in conditions that have never been tested before. And there's a lot of medical science out there saying there is indeed a lot more risks to masks than what we want. If we were biologically set up and we needed filtration before our bodies, lungs, and mouth and other breathing systems kicked in, don't you think we would have evolved to have a mask built into our bodies? But we don't. We don't as humans. So we have to protect our ground. Now is the time to stand up. And that's why I've been so vocal about these forced mask mandates and the forced vaccines, because now is the time to stand our ground and to tell the government that we expect to have freedom. We expect to have individual rights. We expect to determine which risks we have. We want to be fully informed of the risks. Don't do a study and don't do science and determine that a mask is dangerous the way individuals will wear them in a normal basis, as Dr. Jerome Adams has told us, and then go back and tell us to then start wearing the mask and forget about that risk. There's been no new studies produced since Dr. Jerome Adams told us that non-medical personnel would be endangered by masks. No new studies, no new information, yet the mandate comes down. So it really is concerning to us in a democratic society to see that information is being hidden from the citizenry. we're here on a big fight, people. I hope that this is making you concerned about the way our government's functioning. And I hope you're subscribed to my McBride Attorneys Law Show YouTube channel. Ring the bell for notifications. Give me likes on these videos so that more people can see them. If you're interested, volunteer, because we got a big fight in front of us. You know, I gave this speech today in the city of DeLand. The local news was not wild about the fact that a lot of us are raising reality. We're telling people what the truth is about masks. We're bringing the government's own words back to them and telling them that they told us masks were risky when they thought it was beneficial to them. And now suddenly they want to hide that. We deserve better, folks. We deserve accountability. Drop me a comment. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know that you think we deserve accountability. I'm looking forward to connecting with you. Drop me a line. There's a link to my social media on all of this. Follow me. Put your comments in. Let's fight this fight together. Let's hold our government accountable. Let's make them do the right things. Let's make them balance the risk. Let's make them inform us. And then let's talk as a democracy about what we should be doing. The idea of rushing things through and then fixing it later is completely wrong, and it sets a terrible precedent for our future. I really appreciate you joining me. I hope you're subscribed to the channel, McBride Attorneys Law Show on YouTube. Come back. We have a special event coming up June 21st, Town Hall with political leaders. Would love to have you join us live. It will be live on the McBride Attorneys Law Show YouTube channel, so be there. We'll be bringing you other programming, and I look forward to your personal notes and messages because I will read them and use them to inform me. So, all right, folks, I will talk with you all again very soon. Thanks for joining me today.